not incorporated in the material world?
No, it can be, can incorporate. The thing is that there is a certain degree of misconception. Okay, let me tell you exactly what are these UFOs. UFO, unidentified beings, okay, or objects that fly around. Either they are military stealth operations, which can't be disclosed, or either they are operations regarding the evocation of genies, coming from other dimensions. So, an interdimensional door is created, is opened up. Where can these interdimensional doors can be opened up? In certain spaces, certain places, certain holy ground from ancient times known to possess that's possibility.
For example,
a purpose.
For example, in Iraq, for example.
Just go to Mount Graham and study a bit what the Jesuits are doing up there. There is a war between the American natives, Indians, and the Jesuits, since the Jesuits have tried to build this observatory. And why is that? Because the Indians have used that mountain as holy ground for thousands of years, and there is a specific entity living on top of that mountain, but on another dimension. When he wants, he can be called upon this dimension and evoked. The Jesuits, what they want to do. In the meantime, they accuse the American Indians, oh, these are pagans, what are they doing to us? So we have to do science, observe the stars. Oh, rubbish. What they're doing, they are, yes, observing the stars and the planets. Why? Because you always have to reflect above, below, whatever, you know, this rule of the Emerald Tablets of Hermes. I don't need to go on with what is the main rule of the Freemasons, also to reflect below what is above. But it is to evoke these entities in a specific time frame, and this has to be carefully calculated. What is magic? The magic is the calculation of the arts with peculiar calculations around the symbols to evoke certain entities and have from them, if you want, certain gratifications. You can work with them. I, for example, can tell you a story which is a family story from a relative of my wife actually, who I think his uncle or his grand uncle, whatever, who started working with these entities, these genes. Why? Because he had a little, how you say, a little ranch style, American style, they call it ranch, how you call it, you know.
A ranch?
Yeah, where you have animals, where you have, where you're planting things. So he was alone. He wanted to find some workers. This guy was very clever because he knew certain secret codes within the Quran that shouldn't be used. He knew how to use them. He knew that reciting certain prayers in a continuous motion, he will evoke certain presences, and eventually he got to make a deal with them, and they were working for him at night in the fields, doing all the field work, and a lot of Americans say, wow, I would love to have that going on in my place, you know. I could have a couple of these genies coming to work for me. But that means subjecting yourself to those entities. That guy had to sell his soul. More than that, he would be enslaved by those forces for the rest of his life. In fact, he had to continuously recite these prayers and then not recite it at certain times and whatever, otherwise he will create for himself a disaster. And so,
okay, well then let's talk about you, for example.
And these entities also do the same thing as what the Americans call abduction. I found reports in Middle Eastern villages, many Middle Eastern villages, of abductions. But how they're not going to go to an American researcher and say, I saw the UFO. You're not going to find anything. Instead, these entities have appeared, have manifest, not only have took people on inside their dimension, in their own in their own kingdom. They have basically kidnapped people, sometimes beaten them up, and then thrown them back into this dimension. And this happened many times, but obviously for the Middle Eastern person, they call it genes.
So basically you were just using a different language to deal with these entities.
We're definitely using...
Who cares what you call them?
No, but we have to be specific here. Because the moment you call them UFO, you are doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do. The moment you call them aliens, you're doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do.
Let's talk about your background a little bit.
No, but let's finish about Planet X, because Planet X is very important. If we don't finish...
Sure, we want to go there, but I'd like to first talk about You must have evolved. You have not sold your soul. Is this correct?
At a certain time, I sold my soul. I hope that God will grant me that I will be forgiven for what I did, and I will be able
because
to...
you did evocation. You must do this as a... Do you consider yourself a master at this point? You're 33-degree Mason.
33 degrees, an honorary title which I didn't give much importance. The 90 and 95 of the Memphis and Mizraim, which is an Illuminati rite of the Freemasons, which is itself a specific Egyptian rite, I give a bit more importance because there is a lot more esoteric, evocational knowledge to...
Sure, and you must have meditated and prepared yourself and have the ability to do certain kinds of magic yourself, right?
But I was prepared for, since I was a kid, to enter a reality which was very different probably from the mainstream reality. My grandmother, English grandmother, was called Felicity Mason, well known in the scene as Aim Coming for having written a book called The Love Habit. She was a very high degree member of the Illuminati. She gave me the first book of Aleister Crowley as a gift when I was 11 years old. It was the Book of Thought. And from her I learned a lot of things. She had friends, incredible friends. I mean, you can go and check even on the internet. The friends of Felicity Mason was Brian Giles and William Burroughs. William Burroughs, one of her best friends, and I met incredible people from the Pet Shop Boys to Sting, to all the singers, the rock artists, but at the same time also the writers, very avant-garde. I met Brian Gyson in person more than one time.
Well,
I met also when I was
magic and not be an evil person, isn't that right?
No, that's the thing. Unfortunately, I discovered after many years, and I have to say, this is the final result of my studies, that if you want to stay within the magic realm of respect for God and everything, I mean, magic exists. You can stay in its magic realm, but you don't have to move anything and become an active part of it, because that's dangerous. It's forbidden to do any magic in my new religion, which is Islam, what I've embraced. It's forbidden because it's too dangerous. So I will also advise people that are entering the New Age kind of scenario where you have a lot of this spiritual practice that are somehow misleading, and most of them also manipulated by the usual Jesuits, like the hexagram. Now, the whole thing brought by Gurdjieff. But go and study who is dealing now with this system and who has been behind this system now. And you will see the usual Jesuit, the fact that the Jesuits are even present in the New Age movement is not acknowledged by the New Agers, but they should wake up. If this information from the alien department, the planet text, or whatever other spiritual practice is coming filtered from them, it's because there is a reason. They don't want you to perceive the real matter, the real reality.
What is the real reality then?
The real reality is that we are definitely in a constant fight between angels and demons, between the devil, Iblis, who represents the dark side, and God. Now, if we accept that everything in nature or around us is itself part of God, and a representation of God. We are all emanation of God, or emanations of God. You are one emanation of God in this moment, he is another emanation of God in this moment. I'm, alhamdulillah, another emanation of God. Probably not the best, but at least I try. We all manifest, you see, God has 1,001 names, many different ways of being.
Good and evil as well are
good and evil, absolutely, because Iblis itself, the devil, yes, but the darkest side of God created itself by God. So obviously there is no creation, neither in the dark or the white side, that is not part of God, because God is the input, the starting input to this whole universal consciousness and also universal reality in the material plane. It was by an act of grace of God that we are here today in this little minimal infinitesimal planet in lost solar system, that we are here today, talking
Sure.
like this. Why? But we have also our own history. We are reflections of God in many ways, and we have been granted the possibility of choosing where to go. We want to go towards God, or we want to go towards the darkness.
So tell me, your moment of realization in which you departed from being a member of the Illuminati, what happened to you? What made you change your mind?
See, it was in a very specific period of time in my life. I was actually, my wife was pregnant, waiting for my kid. That was after born Isaac Rumi, alhamdulillah, very good. And he was born on the 7th of July 2006, and a very specific day, very symbolic also for me, because a year prior to that I was in London just a week before what happened on the 7th of July, and I have to tell you that definitely the whole of London was flooding with psyops, and they were working all kinds of manipulation to pull off what they pull off that year, which was the terrorist attack in a tube station, an underground station, just one block away from where I used to live. I used to live in Leeson Street, just down the road from Edge Road. So basically, I could have been myself there. I could have been, if I was actually just a few more days in London. But what I realized was that through a series of acts of grace, God has given me the possibility of still being here. In the year 2003, I started to clash with the Illuminati, especially the American side of the Illuminati, which was made up of a series of occultists, all very presumptuous, with various secret societies, all manipulated by the CIA in one way or the other, but still loyal to the New World Order plan in any way.
How did you disagree with them?
I disagree with them. Initially, I tried to find the possibility of a meeting. We wanted to celebrate the 1904 anniversary. What's that? The revelation that Aleister Crowley made in 1904 was the revelation of Ivas, the messenger of the messenger of basic Horus, this god from ancient Egypt. That
Horus.
Yes,
Horus.
He delivered the book that the Illuminati took somehow seriously, which was this book of the law, which is the biggest pile of rubbish in the world, but also is a very dangerous book. It's the heretic book that I would definitely, I don't see many books being so heretic, but if there is one that definitely has all the blasphemies, is the book of the law of Aleister Crowley.
Okay,
but also all the contrast, because this book says on one, a beautiful word, like love is the law, love under will, or each man and each woman is a star. Beautiful words, incredible. But then you have, on another phrase, terrible things. The law of the strong should prevail, Mary should be torn on the cross, Muhammad should be... Sorry, peace and blessings be upon him. Sorry for what I'm saying, because really what is on this book, the book of the law, is everything and the contrary of everything, which represents really the Luciferian character of Aleister Crowley. And the fact that he found many adepts for what was to come in the years after him. You see, Aleister Crowley managed to plant his seeds very carefully into America, in California, with the Parsons Lodge, which Hubbard became a member then after he founded Scientology, but he managed to plant his seeds very well, also in Canada, and through these seeds, a revolution came into being. That became after the New Age Revolution, because 10 years after the death of Aleister Crowley, William Burroughs and others were practicing at the Beat Hotel his rituals. And then years after that, we have the 1960s revolution, which is a whole hymn towards Aleister Crowley's work. If we want, on many sides, it's been manipulated the 60s, and I must say, very sadly, we have to understand that this manipulation went, especially for the people who were more innocent, who became victims of these gurus coming from India, that were deliberately spread into the West with fake and false, showing a little bit of their techniques that obviously the Western man, because the Western man is now so distant from the spiritual reality and the possibility that the spiritual also becomes the material, so these two realities are connected. That's why when before you ask me who is more powerful, the Pope or the presidents, well, the thing is, does the president die the president of the US or not? Yes, he dies. One day he will die. He can't be immortal, okay? So he has to meet death. Well, for him to meet death without the approval of the Pope is to be basically scrapped off the map. Because they themselves are relying on those blessings and that network to bring their power to their successors, to the people after them, and to the people after and after.
So you're saying one hand of this washes the other, but to get back to your own realization and your own change.
Yes, it was
you went against mainly the Illuminati.
Yeah, at the beginning, as I said, at the beginning.
How did you differ?
At the beginning, what happened was this. I wanted to see if it was possible to give a stop to certain practices of evocation of certain demons that were really dangerous for mankind. I thought at that point I could eventually move on the positive side of things. This movement, also the esoteric movement, which is very powerful also and taking a lot of people within the New Age field and bringing them somehow towards the realization of something more positive. I thought that Aleister Crowley was definitely not positive because it's not the way forward. Aleister Crowley has been put there for a purpose, which is to be the beast. Now, the beast is not the best character you have in the apocalypse. So, in the transformation towards the end of time scenario and the realization of a revelation that is something that people are waiting for. Everybody's waiting for 2012. Why they're waiting for 2012? Why? Because they are hoping that this will lead to somehow a cosmic consciousness and the unveiling of certain energy. And that's true. The manifestation of these energies upon Earth will be very strong because the cosmic scenario, the alienation, the way the planets are coming together, the stars and the whole universe is something that happens to be connected to the holy number of God. For the Illuminati, this number is 25920. 25,120. Part of it is 2,160. This becomes the change of an era. In Stonehenge, from the Eastern Gate, we will see the sun. That will be the moment of change for humanity. From a certain age, we enter another age, which is an age full of psychic power and of metaphysical strength. And we have to deal with it, but the powers that are on top of us, what I have been fighting now since I came out of it, is people that unfortunately want to use these powers to their own advantage. If the guy from the CIA will go to that Grandmaster, to Lyon, for example, is a famous occultist in the US. He has written many books. He's the guy who writes the introduction for Aleister Crowley manual.
What is the name again?
Lon Milo Duquette. He's the Grand Secretary, Deputy Grand Master, I think, of the OTO, or the Temple Orientisi. He's living in California. I met him. He came here to Norway. I took care of him in London at the time in 2001, just prior to 9/11. We were together. There was a secret gathering here of the Illuminati in the mountains here in Norway, of this branch of Illuminati, because I don't say that the OTO is all the Illuminati. No, there are small branch dedicated to manipulate the young culture especially, because each one has their own specifics in this new world order. The Rotary Club is built for the businessman, then if he wants something more of a thrill, then give him a fancy apron, lift him a couple of sleeves, initiate him into Freemasonry. Then after that, if he's not, if you see that the guy is ready to be manipulated even more, well, at that point you get him into the elite. You get him into the Illuminati orders. You have the Martinists, you have the Rosicrucians. All these orders have been corrupt by greed. In the West, there is no such thing.
You were a host to this head of the Illuminati in the United States.
Yes.
You're calling him.
But well, he's the head of the Ordo Templi Orientis Illuminati, which is the official representatives of Aleister Crowley. They are the ones who have the copyright over the works of Aleister Crowley.
Fine, but did you find him to be under the thumb of the Jesuits?
No, under the thumb of the CIA.
The CIA.
The CIA.
Because the CIA is under the thumb of the Jesuits.
Listen a second. Okay, he was under the thumb, on one side, he was under the thumb of the CIA because he wanted to be a loyal American, a patriot. He thought that by working with them he could help them with his knowledge. He's particularly clever with the tarot. He's the Grand Master of the Tarot Association in the United States, I'm talking so. And he, at the same time, is also clever with the Nokian tablets and so in the use of that. And he has written many books.
And you consider him to be a master?
He's definitely a master of the esoteric, but he is, for example, somebody who is used, like I said, from the CIA, but also from the Jesuits on the other side. Now, he himself thought that he was opposing somehow the Jesuits or the Knights of Malta, or even the Skull and Bones, in his, because he was initiated at a level that he didn't have the knowledge of the level on top of him. But the people on top of him, like for example William Breeze, who is the head of the OTO in America, linked to Alberto Moscato, who himself was working for the Vatican, for Corrado Balducci, for the Jesuits, and for the usual thing. When, for example, this Corrado Balducci was mentioned to me the first time, it was, I think, maybe spring of the year 2000, that he was mentioned in connection with from Alberto Moscato, that said, this is my dear friend in the Vatican, I have, I'm working with him, and he himself, Alberto Moscato, that died in mysterious circumstances, he was the head of the Italian OTO, he died in mysterious circumstances just a year and a half ago. A year and a half.
Do you know why was he killed?
2 years ago he was killed.
In your opinion?
Well, I know why he was killed.
You do, and why?
The thing was, it's a little bit my fault.
Okay.
Because when my superior in America, which is George Ugo Balestrieri, Comandante George Ugo Balestrieri, who is the director of the Rotary Club in New York, who is also a P2 member. Now, people on these Masonic info websites in America have accused me of being a fake, but then I have proven them over and over again with official documentation, which is always in my hands.
Yes.
I remember to all those people out there that I was involved with these people, and that George Ugo Balestrieri is also an illegal weapons dealer, a guy in charge of the defensive strategies for terrorism. He's the guy who, after 9/11, has made a lot of business selling security equipment to the American airports.
And this was the head, your head.
This was my head for the project, which was because we each have a superior, you understand,
Yes.
appointed by another superior. Now, my official head was actually my mentor in the P2, was Ezio Giunchiglia, the head of the Monte Carlo Lodge. But he presented me to Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri because he wanted me to have also an international approach and also have the possibility to build up in the international division of the Rotary Club, which is based in New York, which George Ugo
Are these arms dealers then?
Yeah.
The Rotary Club?
Now the thing is, the Rotary Club, there is a lot of good people.
Okay.
They don't know, but they should investigate. Now I would invite all the people who are there to just go on the internet, punch in George Ugo Balestrieri. See, he was officially involved in the P2 by the list that was taken by the police in 1981. So the name is on the list. There is no buts or this or that. The guy would have been arrested if he still had an Italian passport. He has been given an American passport, and he has also been given the possibility to be the director of your Rotary Club Americans. Why? Because you are a corrupt nation, subservient to a Vatican, subservient to the Zionists, subservient to a new world order that, in my opinion, is completely corrupt. Now, to accuse me that I will not be eligible to join the Rotary Club, because that's the accusation the Freemasons have made to me. Oh, Leo, how is possible that, you could have never joined the Rotary in any case? Well, if I'm not eligible, and I'm not an assassin, I'm not a murderer, in any case, I never did this too. No, but George Ugo Balestrieri, who is being convicted officially and also of being a weapon dealer in the Livorno port of Italy during one of the darkest periods of the Italian.
Okay, this Balestrieri, is that how you say his name?
Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri.
Okay, he is the head of the Rotary Club
of
now,
New York. Yes, right now.
And he used to be sort of your superior.
Yes, until I left the
And you say he's an arms dealer, or was?
Yes, sure, still
and
is.
he is
one of his
if he went to
many.
Italy, he would be arrested.
No. If he went in Italy at that time with the Italian passport, but the American gave him immediately an American passport. He's untouchable now. He's American passport. You can't touch him. He's not anymore an Italian citizen.
Tell me something. He's Illuminati.
Yes.
Is he also a part of Majestic 12? Do you know who these people are?
No, I never, in my personal experience, Majestic has been always an organization mentioned mostly by conspiracy theories without foundation. I never found any realistic existence of this Majestic 12 or this Majestic organization.
Committee of the majority, you do not know these people.
If you talk to me about the CFR, the Trilateral Pact, these are realistic things that exist, they build, they are tangible, you can touch them. The Illuminati, they exist. I was into an organization which I can show you the documents, and that was the Universal Humanity of Monte Carlo, the Monte Carlo Lodge.
Okay, but what about...
I mean, these are things I have experienced
understand,
personally.
but what about James Jesus Angleton? Because he was...
Sure, he was a Knight of Malta.
A Knight of Malta. Okay?
So,
okay, fine.
now, we want to say where the Knights of Malta meet up, because now, recently, people have asked me, do they really meet up in Via Condotti for their decisions, or this is another place? Well, I said to Knight of Malta, who emailed me recently, a few things about his own order, and he was shocked. And at the end he said, oh, I didn't know you knew so much, and I have to apologize for my first approach. This guy was called Brian Watley from the Knights of Malta in Ireland. And when I told to him that the real meeting place of the Grand Magistery is on the Aventine Hill, and in fact that's where they had the funeral and the last, and where they showed the body of their Grand Master just a couple of days ago, guys, because the Grand Master of the Knights of Malta, Andrew Berti, died last week. It's something that is happening in the Vatican in the last year or so. First of all, we had the changing of Cardinal Ruini with Cardinal Bagnasco, with now Cardinal Bagnasco, that was Bishop Bagnasco before, for the conference, Episcopal Conference in Italy. Then in January we had the elections of the new Jesuit Superior General, which is Adolf Nicolas, so somebody who is now completely different from Hans Kovenbach as a character. He's coming from a different experience, though obviously the aims of the order is always the same. I know that Adolf Nicolas has been also close to Thomas Michel, which because they both come from Asia. One was in charge of the province in Japan, the other one in Indonesia, and so they were close friends in their work. So what I heard last year before the elections was that definitely the father Hans Kovenbach was too old for carrying on his job properly, so somebody knew how to be called in. I think that they are renewing the blood. They are trying to bring fresh, young arms to the whole system. First, they renovate the Jesuits. Obviously, they couldn't kill Kovenbach, so Kovenbach himself is a little bit too much of a manipulator and will not have been so killable. While instead, I have a couple of doubts on the sudden death of Andrew Berti, especially after just a few weeks after the election of the new Superior General, because he was in quite good conditions. He participated to all the latest diplomatic meetings of the Knights of Malta with various heads of states and things like this, so it came to me as a strange news. Though I'm not anymore in that circle, I can't confirm or not if there has been some kind of murder behind the scenes. But in the Vatican that's very highly possible, to change somebody.
Are you still in touch with some of the people that you knew? Some of the members that were close to you back then? Yeah,
some people, very few though, have the courage to still... I have actually even a Masonic obedience in Italy, which is called Grande Oriente Italiano di Piazza del Gesù, which is not connected in any way with what I was doing prior. They invited me to participate to a lodge meeting on the 10th of January in Rome. So I basically, for the first time after 2 years, participated to a Masonic lodge meeting in a lodge that invited an anti-Mason, or at least somebody who is perceived as such by the majority of Masons. But for people, why they did that? Because their own obedience is not corrupt. It's not fearing. They had contacts with the Jesuits, with Padre Caprile in the 70s, the Grand Master prior to that. They always been, this is a Scottish Rite system, so they have a tradition which is obviously of quite quite linked to the Vatican in some way, especially because they had Grande Oriente Italiano di Piazza del Gesù, which was specifically linked with the Vatican. But at least they had the courage to invite me in a fraternal way to a lodge. Instead they didn't do what the Grand Lodge of Maine did, which to write a whole page full of rubbish on me and accuse me of being this and that.
Okay, but they invited you. What purpose would you have in going? What would
I went. I can show you the pictures later.
But I understand. But what did you hope to accomplish?
What I do is to talk openly about what is, for example, the Jesuit influence upon the Scottish Rite, which is an historical influence, which this goes back 3 centuries, so it's interesting under also an historical point of view to discuss with them the influence of the Vatican upon certain branches of Freemasonry, to open their minds against what is the New World Order, trying to discuss and find if there is a way of dialogue. Now, for example, there was in this lodge, the Garibaldi Lodge, some very interesting people, also some intelligence members from the Italian intelligence. But we gathered together and we had a great laugh, a great dinner after, where we talked about le Brigidine, the order
and they're not necessarily all corrupt. Isn't this right? I mean, some of them must be genuine.
What I did is this. Instead of participating to a rite meeting, what is the rite? The rite is every meeting from the 4th degree onwards to the 33. That is the rite. Then you have the order, which is the first 3 degree. In reality, a Freemason can't be more than a Master Mason. The higher degree is the 3rd. And for me, keeping it simple and down to those 3 degrees, actually it's still possible for me to go in a lodge and not practice anything that I can recall as satanic. Okay, you have the death and rebirth myth of Hiram Abiff, but that is like Osiris, is a kind of death rebirth myth that goes on from ancient times. So the Mason is made to believe is Hiram Abiff, is killed, is then resurrected by the Masons there, is given the various grips, the various signs to recognize himself with other Masons worldwide. But when you enter then the Rite, for me the Scottish Rite is corrupt. I said that. Why? Because part of the degrees have been created by the Jesuits. The York Rite is corrupt. Why? Because part of the degrees have been created by the Zionists, other parts of the degrees have been created by corrupt people close to the Catholic, but also close to the Anglican Church for various reasons. And so at the end, universal Freemason is not really universal.